Picture yourself in a big box store, standing in front of the TV wall, Target, Walmart, Costco, Best Buy, maybe scrolling through Amazon. A wall of screens hits you at once. Every tag says 4K, every picture looks bright enough to fry your retinas, and every model name looks almost like the one reviewers recommend. But not quite. That's not an accident. Retailers use exclusive model numbers that sound premium but quietly trim key features. Some budget sets crank up demo mode brightness to hide weak contrast. Others slap on a fancy-sounding series name while cutting dimming zones, motion handling, or HDMI bandwidth. And of course, the prices are engineered to create panic. Save $400 today only. But here's the twist. Many of the TVs that look incredible on the showroom wall will look washed out, sluggish, or downright frustrating once they're in your living room. Because in-store lights hide problems, and those retail-exclusive SKUs often hide even more. Today we're ranking 12 major TV brands you'll actually find at US retailers, from the worst traps to the ones that are genuinely worth your money. Let's start at the bottom. Number 12, Scepter, the ultra-cheap wildcard you'll see online or on a Walmart end cap. This is where we hit the absolute floor of TV pricing, and it shows in every category that matters. Scepter delivers the lowest price you'll find on a new TV, but the compromises run deep. You're looking at bare minimum SDR brightness, and HDR is functionally non-existent. The TV will accept the signal, but it won't display anything close to what HDR is supposed to look like. Motion processing is limited at best, so sports and action scenes blur into mush. There's no meaningful local dimming, so dark scenes stay gray and washed out. And here's the kicker. Panel quality varies heavily between production batches, which means inconsistent reliability across the board. Buyers often praise the price, but reviews frequently mention uniformity issues, dead pixels showing up within months, and early failures. This is a TV that looks okay in-store under bright fluorescent lights, but falls apart once you get it home and try to watch a movie at night. And if you thought that was rough, the next step up doesn't move the needle much. Number 11, RCA and ON. The you get what you pay for brands flooding budget shelves at Walmart and discount retailers. These are fine as a cheap first TV for a kid's room or a garage, but not as your main screen. You're working with basic direct lit panels that deliver weak contrast and unimpressive black levels. The operating system depends entirely on which SKU you grab. Some run fast enough, others feel painfully slow right out of the box. Build quality varies wildly by production run, so you might get a set that lasts 3 years or one that starts flickering after 6 months. Many buyers describe these TVs as fine for a bedroom, but not something they'd want to use as a daily driver in the living room. The price is great, but the lifespan is limited, and the picture quality won't impress anyone. Let's step into something with better software but still budget. Number 10, Insignia Fire TV. Best Buy's house brand everywhere in their stores, always on sale. This is where convenience starts to matter, but performance still lags behind. Insignia TVs are built around Amazon's Fire TV platform, which gives you instant access to streaming apps and voice control through Alexa. That's the upside. The downside is that brightness hovers at the low end of the spectrum, so daytime viewing in a bright room leaves the picture looking washed out. Fire TV also clutters the interface with ads and sponsored content, which some buyers find annoying. Gaming features are limited. You're not getting variable refresh rate or low latency modes here. Buyers appreciate the integration with Amazon's ecosystem, but reviews mention lag during navigation and inconsistent panel quality depending on which size you buy. This is a TV that's good for convenience, not for picture quality. Now we get into brands that promise value but don't always deliver evenly. Number 9, Philips and Sharp, budget lines, legacy names that were revived through licensing deals. The logos feel familiar, but the performance doesn't live up to the history. Here's the reality. These panels are sourced inconsistently across different factories, so quality control is all over the map. Some models run Android TV, others use Roku, and the builds can feel sluggish depending on which processor ended up in your unit. Contrast is better than Scepter or RCA, but we're still talking entry-level performance. Black levels stay gray, and HDR barely does anything useful. Buyer sentiment is mixed at best. People mention decent color accuracy out of the box, but inconsistent quality control means you might need to return your first unit and try again. A familiar logo doesn't guarantee a strong TV, and that's the lesson here. But the jump from here starts to feel meaningful. Number 8, Vizio, V-Series, the king of good enough for cheap. Vizio has built its reputation on delivering solid specs on paper while keeping prices low, but the V-Series comes with a history of inconsistent firmware updates and quality control issues. Color accuracy is genuinely good for the price, but local dimming is limited on the V-Series models, so contrast stays flat. The SmartCast operating system is better than it used to be, faster, more responsive, but it's still pretty basic compared to Google TV or Roku. Build quality has improved over the years, but it's not premium grade, and some buyers report issues with backlighting uniformity. Buyers appreciate the value and the picture quality at this price point, but they complain about slow firmware updates and occasional bugs that never get fixed. This is a fair bargain, just don't expect premium polish or long-term software support. Now we start to hit TVs that regularly surprise people. Number 7. Hisense A6 and value lines, the rising star in budget performance. Hisense has spent the last few years proving that you can get strong picture quality without spending a fortune, and their value lines show it. Brightness is better than most budget sets in this range, which means SDR content actually looks punchy and HDR doesn't feel like a waste of time. You get your choice of Google TV or Fire OS depending on the model, and both run smoothly enough for daily use. Quality control has been improving year by year, and while it's not perfect, the failure rate is dropping. Buyers are consistently impressed by the picture quality for the price. There are still caveats. Motion handling isn't great, and you might see some uniformity issues on dark screens, but for the money, this is one of the budget sweet spots. And now we climb into real competition territory. Before we enter the heavy hitters, here's something most people never realize. Retailers use nearly identical model numbers to mask cut specs, fewer dimming zones, missing HDMI ports, even downgraded processors. A TV that looks like the one reviewers tested might actually be a stripped-down exclusive variant that never appears on any review site. And some of those huge discounts you see? They're just inflated MSRPs slapped onto weaker panels to make the sale look better than it is. If this already saved you from a bad retail TV deal, hit subscribe, the next 6 might shock you. Number 6. TCL, 4 Series and QM entry. The brand you see everywhere, especially in those special retailer SKUs. TCL has become the default recommendation for budget buyers over the last few years, but you need to watch out for inconsistent spec cuts on store-exclusive models. Most TCL sets run either Google TV or Roku, and both are smooth enough for everyday use. The interface is fast, apps are plentiful, and updates come regularly. SDR performance is good with decent brightness and natural colors, and HDR is acceptable for the price. You're getting real brightness improvements, wider color, and contrast that actually makes highlights stand out. The problem is that retail exclusive models sometimes reduce the number of dimming zones, cut down on peak brightness, or use slower processors to hit a specific price point. Those changes don't always get mentioned on the box, and they don't always show up in the model number in an obvious way. You might walk into Costco and see a TCL that looks identical to the one that got rave reviews, but it's actually a different variant with half the dimming zones and 200 nits less brightness. The difference is real, and it affects your actual viewing experience at home. Buyers love the value and the picture quality when they get the right model, but reviews mention occasional firmware hiccups where features stop working after an unexpected.hr update, and inconsistent quality control depending on which model and size you choose. Panel lottery is still a thing here, though less severe than cheaper brands. This is a great deal as long as you avoid the stripped-down exclusives and stick to the models that reviewers actually tested. Do your homework, cross-check model numbers, and make sure you're getting the real thing. From here on, we leave the budget zone. Number 5. Vizio M-Series and P-Series mid-range fighters that surprise people when they see them properly calibrated. Vizio's higher-tier models punch way above their weight class, especially in brightness and gaming performance. Peak brightness is significantly higher than the V-Series, usually hitting 500 to 700 nits in HDR mode, and sometimes pushing even higher on smaller screen sizes. That means HDR actually looks like HDR bright highlights that pop off the screen, punchy colors that feel saturated and vibrant, and decent shadow detail that doesn't get crushed into black. Local dimming is better here too, with more zones and better algorithms that reduce blooming around bright objects on dark backgrounds. Build quality feels more solid, with better materials and tighter assembly. These sets don't creak or flex when you handle them. Gaming features are strong here, low input lag that sits around 10 to 15 milliseconds, variable refresh rate on newer models for smoother gameplay, and support for 120Hz content from PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. If you're a console gamer, these TVs handle fast-paced games really well, without the stutter or tearing you see on cheaper sets. Buyers praise the gaming performance and the brightness, especially in bright rooms where cheaper TVs wash out and lose contrast. When calibrated properly with a few tweaks to color, temperature, and gamma, these sets punch above their weight and compete with TVs that cost twice as much. You're getting near flagship performance at a mid-range price, and that's rare. Now we enter the brands people buy for reliability. Number 4, Sony mid-range LEDs. Known for processing even in their cheaper models. Sony has always been the brand that handles motion better than anyone else, and that reputation holds up even in their entry-level LED sets. Motion handling is among the best in the industry, period. Sony's processing smooths out judder without introducing the soap opera effect that makes movies look weird, and their frame interpolation is clean and artifact-free. Sports look smooth, action movies stay sharp during fast movement, and panning shots don't stutter or tear. Color accuracy is excellent out of the box, better than almost any other brand without calibration. Reds are rich, blues are deep, and skin tones look natural instead of oversaturated or waxy. Google TV runs clean and stable with consistent updates that arrive on schedule and don't break existing features. The problem is, HDR brightness, Sony's budget, and mid-range LEDs just don't get bright enough to make HDR content pop the way it should. Peak brightness usually tops out around 350 to 450 nits, which is decent for SDR but underwhelming for HDR. Highlights don't punch, bright scenes feel muted, and you lose impact in well-lit rooms. You're paying a premium for processing and reliability, but the hardware doesn't always match the price. Buyers note great picture quality for sports and fast motion, smooth interface performance, and long-term reliability that outlasts cheaper brands. But they question the price-to-performance ratio compared to TCL or Hisense, which often deliver brighter panels and better HDR for less money. This is a TV for people who value smooth motion and long-term reliability over raw brightness and HDR impact. Now the top 3 where your money finally starts to show. Number 3, TCL QD Mini LED QM7 and QM8 Mini LED brightness that rivals the biggest brands in the industry. TCL's flagship QD Mini LED sets deliver performance that used to cost $3,000, and they do it for half that price or less during sales. You're getting thousands of dimming zones, literally thousands of individually controlled zones that can brighten or dim independently to match the content on screen. Peak brightness pushes past 1,000 nits, sometimes hitting 1,500 nits on smaller sizes, which means HDR looks the way it's supposed to. Fireworks explode off the screen, sunlight glints off metal with real intensity, and bright scenes feel vibrant and alive. Quantum dot color coverage hits close to 90% of the DCI-P3 color space, which means wide color gamut content looks rich and saturated without feeling oversaturated or artificial. Gaming features are excellent here. Variable refresh rate up to 144 Hz on some models, low input lag under 10 milliseconds, and support for all the latest formats including Dolby Vision gaming. If you're a PC gamer or console gamer, these TVs handle everything you throw at them without compromise. Reliability has been trending upward over the last 2 years, with fewer reports of panel failures and more consistent quality control. Firmware updates are more regular than they used to be, and TCL seems committed to supporting these flagship models long term. This is flagship level punch without flagship pricing. If you want the brightest, most colorful picture you can get without spending $2,000 or more, this is where you land. You're getting performance that competes directly with Samsung and Sony's high-end models, but for significantly less money. Number 2, Samsung Neo QLED QN85, QN90, QN95. The best bright room performance you can buy in an LED TV. Samsung's Neo QLED sets are built specifically for homes with lots of windows, ambient light, and daytime viewing where other TVs struggle. Peak brightness is among the highest in the industry, often exceeding 2,000 nits on the QN95 models. That kind of brightness cuts through glare, overpowers reflections, and keeps the picture visible even with sunlight streaming directly onto the screen. And Samsung's anti-reflection coating is legitimately excellent. It cuts down on glare better than almost any other brand, which means you see the picture instead of reflections of your windows and lamps. The operating system is polished and fast, with a clean interface that's easy to navigate, consistent updates that arrive reliably, and strong app support that includes everything you'd want. Build quality is rock solid with premium materials, tight assembly, and attention to detail that you don't see in cheaper brands. Reliability is well above average, with low failure rates and strong customer service if something does go wrong. Samsung backs these TVs with solid warranties and actually responds when you need help. Black levels aren't as deep as OLED, and you'll see some blooming around bright objects on dark backgrounds, but the trade-off is brightness that makes these TVs usable in any lighting condition. This is the best LED option for everyday households that don't watch TV exclusively in a pitch-black room. If you need a TV that looks great at 3 in the afternoon with sunlight streaming through the windows, this is the one. You're paying more than TCL or Hisense, but you're getting build quality, reliability, and customer service that justify the price. Number 1, LG OLED C-Series and G-Series. Perfect blacks, superb HDR detail, elite motion handling. If picture quality is the goal, this is the finish line. It's like switching from regular glasses to crystal lenses. Everything just looks clearer, sharper, and more lifelike. OLED delivers infinite contrast because each pixel produces its own light and can turn completely off when displaying black. That means true. Black levels with no backlight bleed, no blooming around bright objects, and shadow detail that LED TVs simply cannot match. You see details in dark scenes that disappear on LED sets, even expensive mini LED models. Highlights pop against perfect blacks with an intensity that feels three-dimensional. HDR looks the way directors intended, with subtle gradations between light and dark that preserve detail at both ends of the spectrum. Motion handling is instantaneous because pixels respond in under a millisecond. There's no ghosting, no trailing, no blur during fast action. Sports look clean, movies look cinematic, and games feel responsive in a way that's hard to describe until you see it. WebOS is smooth and consistently updated, with a clean interface that prioritizes content over clutter, fast performance that never lags, and regular updates that add features instead of breaking existing ones. Gaming features are top-tier variable refresh rate, instant response time under 1 millisecond, and support for all the latest formats including Dolby Vision gaming at 120 Hz. Input lag is nearly zero, and the combination of perfect blacks and instant response makes these TVs the best option for serious gamers. The value gets even better when prices drop during sales. You can often find C-Series models for under $1,500 during Black Friday or holiday sales, which is less than some mid-range LED sets. If picture quality is what you care about most, this is where the journey ends. So when you stack all 12 brands side by side, 3 clear tiers appear. At the bottom, you have the true traps, the ultra-cheap sets with weak panels, slow software, and inconsistent reliability. These are TVs that look fine under store lighting but fall apart once you get them home. In the middle, the brands that deliver solid performance for the price. Good brightness, usable HDR, and operating system experiences that won't drive you crazy. And at the top are the models that genuinely justify the jump from $300 to $1,500. Better dimming, higher peak brightness, faster interfaces, stronger build quality, and picture that actually looks like what you saw in the store. The real takeaway? Retailers aren't bad, buying the wrong model is. Many of those flashy sale tags hide cut specs, weaker panels, or store-exclusive variants that never appear on review sites, but when you know what to look for, you can get a fantastic TV at any price point. If you want help choosing, drop the model you're considering in the comments. I'll tell you if it's safe or if there's a better option for your room and budget. And if you want more no-nonsense breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. The next video dives into which 2025 TVs actually hit their advertised brightness and which ones fake it.